Well, boy, oh boy, boom, bam, blow it up. This is how them Patriots like it. A little bit of spicy, a little bit of sweet. Oh, brother.
If a prize fighter loses, it doesn't inspire people to riot.
How did he inspire people to riot?
By not conceding the election.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
What?
Come on. So wait a second. He didn't say the words "I concede," and so that meant people rioted?
Yes. What do you think January 6th was
What
about?
do you think January 6th was?
It was about people who did not hear their leader say, as every other leader in this country has said after an election, okay, I lost. We welcome the new guy. We had disagreements, but now we're all Americans. When Obama took over, George Bush stood next to him and he said, we want you to succeed, because when you succeed, Trump didn't do any of that.
Okay. So what?
Well, so what? It inspires half the country to not accept the basic democratic principle that we have elections, and when you lose, you go away, and then you become the loyal opposition.
Well,
they don't see themselves as the loyal.
You like me have built a career out of nothing except talent and a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work, but you're full of shit. What I don't understand when you say that he did not say the words "I concede" caused half the country, which you just said, to riot.
Each book you get more right wing, I have to say. You get, like, the last one, I remember you were on my show and there was like one line in it that was, and I said to you on the air, like, are you implying that Trump, that election was stolen by Biden? And no, I didn't. You were kind of like hedging it, and now you're like, you
know what happened to me the next morning. You don't know what happened to me the next morning. I was on your show and you said, "Are you implying that that the election was stolen?" And I was kind of iffy on it. Right, next morning, 8:00, the phone rings. A woman on the phone says, "Mr. Mamet, will you hold for the president?" I said, "Wait a second, Biden is calling? It's Trump. It's during the Biden administration." And he says, "David, it's Donald Trump." I say, Mr. President, thank you for calling. To what do I owe the honor? He said, "I saw you on Bill Maher yesterday. You were great." He said, "But you wussed out on the question of the stolen election." And then he talked to me for like 20 minutes about how the election was stolen.
But it wasn't.
Well, I think it was.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Look who breaks the internet once again. The one and only Bill Maher. Oh, man. And we got the Hollywood legend, David Mamet. And here we are in 2025, y'all, talking about the 2020 election. The Constitution. And J6. Yeah. You know, and as I say, the man won 3 elections. 3. The man won 3 elections. They say, "Rick, sir, please don't start that today, sir. Please, sir, don't go there, sir." I'm just saying. You know, and we could have completely avoided this mess we're in now. I'm just saying. And now we have the biggest American scandal ever. Didn't know who was running the country. White House completely hijacked. Incompetence. A complete mess. People have lost everything. Lives have been devastated. Beautiful souls that should still be here. But it's gonna get real in this one, y'all. So this is gonna be a great show, as always. Great video. I love you guys, man. I hope everybody that is tuned in right now is blessed, well, and healthy, man. One love to the human race. Common sense, right from wrong, good versus evil. You know, the truth, the brutal, honest truth. you know? And sometimes the truth hurts. Especially when Bill Maher got called out. And he even said, Bill Maher, you are full of... Man, this is finna get good, y'all. This is finna get good. 2025. Talking about the 2020 election. J6. The Constitution. Just another one that comes out, and calls it out for what it is. And either you want to hear it or you don't. Agree to disagree. Hey, here we are, man. But we need these kind of conversations. Little do we know it, we need these kind of conversations. I love that Bill Maher went to the White House and met with President Trump. And that everything went great. And that he says, I kind of actually like the man. I love that all these things in 2025 took place this year. It needed to happen. The big bad orange man, the dictator, the threat to democracy. Hitler. If Trump was actually that bad, if he was actually this bad, he wouldn't be where he is right now. If he was actually that bad. As we know what the mainstream media has done, the fake news media, Democrats, liberals, how they've assassinated the man's character. Couldn't beat the man fair and square. Weaponized. Shams. Witch hunt. Still can't tell us what crime to this day. Still don't know what crime he committed. But he was actually this bad as they say he is. I promise you, he wouldn't be where he is right now. It just doesn't work that way. If he was actually that bad. Think about that, y'all. It might have went over some of y'all's heads. But here we are.
If you read the Constitution, which I do, it's pretty easy, about 20 pages, what is the Trump administration doing that's unconstitutional? The answer is nothing.
Well, they're not obeying judges' orders. That is unconstitutional.
Oh, come
What
on.
are you talking about, the one district judge who said bring the guy back from El Salvador?
There have been many judges' orders about the immigration issue, yes, that they're just ignoring.
Well, no, I don't know that I think your information there is wrong. I think that what they're doing is, in some cases, they may be slow walking it, but I don't believe that there's any. Here's what they're doing: is that all these rogue district judges are issuing restraining orders against the president in his performance of his constitutionally mandated duty. It's his constitutional duty to take care of the border. It has nothing to do with the judiciary. If someone feels wronged, they have the opportunity to sue, but the court does not have, the district courts do not have under the Constitution.
Well, what's very clear in the Constitution, it's because it's in both the 5th and the 14th Amendment, is that they could have said the word citizen both times, and they said the word person. A person has a right to a trial.
Yeah, they do have a trial. They do have a right to a trial.
Due process,
they purposely didn't say citizen. That's why it's unconstitutional, illegal to take people off the streets without any hearing at all and send them to a foreign prison.
Yeah, I know a lot of you guys think of that, man.
Each book you get more right wing, I have to say.
On that 2020 election.
Like the last one, I remember you were on my show and it was like one line.
They said my grandma, rest in peace to grandma. She's been passed away for a couple years now. It's been about 6 years. 6, 7 years. About almost 7. Rest in peace to grandma. But they said she was alive in 2020 somehow. On the ballot. Grandma was on the ballot. Rick's grandma was on the ballot in 2020. They mailed it in. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm telling you. My grandma was voting. She's been passed away. Unbelievable. Oh. Them Patriots woke up and said, "What happened?" And then come to find out, it was a laptop. It was crack cocaine everywhere. It was doo-doo stains in the carpet. Nobody was running the thing except some of the staff. The so-called doctor. I don't even know why they say doctor. Dr. Jill. You know, they said, Dr. Jill, take over the cabinet meeting. Take over the cabinet meeting, ma'am. She said her husband is just fine. He's just great. He answered every last question. He did such a great job. White House completely hijacked. And there was a lady in the other room. She said she was the last one in the room. She was laughing. I guess something was very funny. She was in there cackling. You know, couldn't reach out to the grieving families, but she's in there laughing. Incompetence. Sound asleep on the beach. Sir, this way. Oh, sir, be careful. There's stairs. There's stairs, sir. There's stairs. Sir, oh, are you okay, sir? No. We could have avoided it all, y'all. The cheap fakes, the deep fakes. But they mailed it in. Rick's grandma was on the ballot.
Line in it that was, and I said to you on the air, like, are you implying that Trump, that election was stolen by Biden? And no, I didn't. You were kind of like hedging it, and now you're like,
Well, you know what happened to me the next morning. You don't know what happened to me the next morning. I was on your show and you said, "Are you implying that the election was stolen?" And I was kind of iffy on it. Right. Next morning, 8:00, the phone rings. Woman on the phone says, "Mr. Mamet, will you hold for the president?" I said, "Wait a second. Biden is calling. It's Trump. It's during the Biden administration." And he says, "David, it's Donald Trump." I say, Mr. President, thank you for calling. To what do I owe the honor? He said, "I saw you on Bill Maher yesterday. You were great." He said, "But you wussed out on the question of the stolen election." And then he talked to me for like 20 minutes about how the election was stolen.
But it wasn't.
Well, I think it was.
I wonder what that 20-minute conversation between him and President Trump, I wonder how beautiful that conversation went. Oh, man. Boy. Yeah. I want to take this one out, too.
He's a radical left maniac with modest television ratings, sir.
I thought I could wind up in Guantanamo Bay. I think I still could. I mean, he was ranting about me all last week again. He's obsessed sometimes. I don't know. He went on a tear for about 8 months when he was president.
It's crazy to see how all this is taking place, and then now Bill Maher has went to the White House and met with President Trump, and yeah, it's just a complete, and now Bill Maher is very open to his tone. Everything has changed. And then he's also, having more of these, like, as you can see, these conversations about Trump and what took place in 2020, J6, and what's going on right now in the current administration. Like I say, I love how all this is taking place, y'all.
Speed and the truth shall set you free. It seems the vice grip that libs have had over popular culture is finally broken this week. Stephen A. Smith, a progressive anchor on ESPN, arguably the most powerful anchor on all of ESPN, a guy who's planning on running for president in 2028, said he totally understands why Democrats would steal the 2020 election and how it could be done. This is remarkable. And then he goes on to blame Democrats and their psychotic hatred of President Trump for all of it. Amazing. But it's not just Stephen A. Smith who is piercing the veil of popular culture. David Mamet, maybe you've heard of him. He's one of the most famous playwrights in the history of America. He's obviously a total legend. His IMDb is just an absolute masterclass of Hannibal. Look at this. Lake Boat Ronin, Wag the Dog, a ton of movies that he wrote, a ton of scripts that are just legendary. Hoffa, just a spectacular. The Untouchables, one of my favorites right here. That's an excellent movie. Excellent movie. Anyway, David is somebody who predicted President Trump would win the 2024 election. He's obviously a Hollywood celebrity, somebody who lives inside of the Hollywood and playwright circles. Trump was the best president since Abraham Lincoln, he says. He has been endorsed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump saying great playwright and filmmaker David Mamet. He just wrote an incredible new book. Donald Trump's been a fan of his work. Apparently, Donald Trump called him after one of his Fox News hits. Here's Mark Levin doing an interview with David Mamet. So this is just a little bit of a backgrounder here, because David Mamet was just on Bill Maher's show. And is Bill Maher's like one-on-one sort of like talk show, right, called Club Random. And they had an unbelievable exchange where David Mamet's just like, dude, the 2020 election was stolen. I guarantee it. It's incredible. Okay, here's how it started. It started with David talking about how President Trump called him after one of his hits on Bill Maher's show. Here we go.
Each book you get more right wing, I have to say. You get like the last one. I remember you were on my show, and there was like one line in it that was, and I said to you on the air, like, are you implying that Trump, that election was stolen by Biden? And no, I didn't. You were kind of like hedging it, and now you're like,
well, you know what happened to me the next morning. You don't know what happened. The election was stolen, and I was kind of iffy on it. Right, next morning, 8 o'clock, the phone rings.
Phone rang. President Trump calling. Yeah.
Trump. I said, I saw you on Bill Maher yesterday. You were great. He said, but you wussed out on the question of the stolen election, and then he told.
Wasn't.
Well, I think it was.
Then it got to Trump not conceding the 2020 election, which still, of course, triggers Bill Maher. And little Bill Maher threw a fit, but David Mamet said, oh, no, they definitely stole the 2020 election. I believe it.
When last we spoke several years ago, you were stuck on this issue. You're still stuck on it. How come?
Because it's not been resolved.
So wait, what is it that hasn't been resolved?
The asymmetry of American elections. The fact that if one party, the Republican Party, wins the election, the other party goes, okay, you win some.
And y'all know what? And when he went to the White House, this came up, and Trump was just like, and y'all know how Trump plays his cards. And knowing Bill Maher was there, he was like, Bill, I lost the election. This came up when he met with President Trump at the election. Y'all remember him explaining that Trump was like, I lost. Even though I thought, I believe it's this, and that, and this happened. You know what, Bill? I lost, though. You're right, Bill. I lost. And Bill Maher couldn't believe it, And that was one of the, that was a great thing that he came out and said from meeting President Trump that night and having dinner,
Some, and they go home. Hillary Clinton went home. Kamala Harris went home.
Yeah.
You can't imagine Trump ever going home.
Excuse me. Now what you're doing is injecting metaphysics into what might be a matter of. So is the question is not what he did. The question is not even what he might do. What you've just said is one can't imagine what he would do. But on the other hand...
No, I don't have to imagine what he did in 2020, which was never concede the election. I'm not even...
Dude, he didn't have to concede the election. He lost. If somebody is beaten in a prize fight and the other guy gets the belt, the person who's beaten does not have to concede. It's not necessary. He's lost.
Well, it is necessary. The analogy falls down because that if a prize fighter loses, it doesn't inspire people to riot.
How did he inspire people to riot?
By not conceding the election.
Oh, come on.
What?
Come on. So wait a second. He didn't say the words, I concede, and so that meant people rioted?
Yes. What do you think January 6th was about?
What do you think January 6th was?
It was about people who did not hear their leaders say, as every other leader in this country has said after an election, okay, I lost. We welcome the new guy. We had disagreements, but now we're all Americans. When Obama took over, George Bush stood next to him, and he said, we want you to succeed, because when you succeed, Trump didn't do any of that.
Okay. So what?
Well, so what? It inspires half the country to not accept the basic democratic principle that we have elections, and when you lose, you go away, and then you become the loyal opposition. They don't see themselves as the loyal.
You like me have built a career out of nothing except talent and a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work, but you're full of shit. What I don't understand when you say that he did not say the words "I concede" caused half the country, which you just said, to riot.
No, I didn't say half the country rioted. A lot of people rioted, and it was less than half the country because he got less than half the votes and still won. That's okay. That's our system. But a good deal of the country, approaching half.
The two clash over the 2020 election. Bill Maher tries to get down into the details, and so does David Mamet. Just leave it to the playwright to know what he's talking about here. Go.
They've adjudicated this. They've looked at this. Republicans have looked at this. It was tested in court like 60 times. It was thrown out every time. Trump's own commission, appointed by his own commissioners to look at the election, the Cybersecurity Commission, it's called, or agency. There's two of them. One of them is within the Department of Homeland Security. They all said the same thing. It was the most fair, honest election we've ever had.
No, I'm not talking about the votes. I'm not talking about counting the votes. That the Hunter Biden laptop was suppressed, the COVID information was suppressed. Zuckerberg said himself that the White House pressured him not to bring forward the information on the laptop. Rasmussen said, had that come out, there would have been a 17-point spread.
Oh, please. That's so ridiculous. Those things are true. And they did suppress the Hunter Biden. The press did do that. I've said this many times myself, and COVID. Nobody was more out there about fuck you on we weren't allowed to hear about what we wanted to hear about COVID than I was. But would it have swung the election? Every election, some things are suppressed. It's not a very fair game, politics.
And Bill Maher still proves that he's a Russiagator, which is incredibly sad, right? I thought Bill Maher was kind of coming around. He had dinner at the White House with Trump, but here we go.
He certainly invited another country to do things, and they took advantage of it, of course. Would it have made a difference? I don't know.
How did they take advantage of it?
Well, Trump's campaign manager was sharing polling data with a GRU agent.
Maybe.
Well, okay, that's something that, I mean, even Nixon didn't do that.
Wait, this is the first that I've heard. A, and B, if it's true, and I'm not saying that it is, how did that influence the election?
Well, we know that Russia would put things on the internet that weren't true just to get people fighting, that kind of stuff.
Like what?
They would say, like, the Pope, they would put up some meme about, the Pope is backing Trump. It wasn't true, but people believed it, and then they started to fight over it.
This is going insanely viral and is just like another massive white pill in culture.
Yeah.
When you have the most famous scriptwriter, screenwriter, playwright in all in living history going on and explaining thoughtfully, thoroughly, wisely, educated from an elite consensus perspective. I mean, he's even wearing the hat that President Trump had the election stolen from him. Man, boys, are we back? We are back. And the sound that you hear, of course,
are so back, man. What do y'all think of this, though? Let me know, man. Bill Maher. We told you what it's gonna be from Bill Maher, and even how it played out to be from him going to the White House, meeting with President Trump. I know this doesn't surprise you guys, so hey. Well, let me know what you think. I love y'all. God bless you all and your families, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace and love, you guys.